It's Brent with BC Dubs. Welcome everyone. Welcome to another great slate of college football games today, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. If you like this kind of content, please smash that like button, hit the subscribe notification bell so you don't miss a single video that I post. We're going to talk a little college football today. We're going to talk about some key games, some key matchups. Not a crazy slate of games today, but there are a few games that I want to keep my eye on today, and that's what I figured we'd talk about. Trying to get this video out before the college football games kick off, man. I was going to make this video last night, just ran out of time. Had to go to the emergency room last night. My kid was feeling a little bit ill. But anyway, enough of that. Let's get into some college football. It is a little chilly out here today in Central Florida, which feels good. It finally feels like fall. I know that some of my friends up in the north have been like, man, it's been fall here for a while. But down here, it feels a little chilly. Now, to me, that's 75 degrees, and that's what it is outside today in this gorgeous weather looking out of the window of the man cave. But nonetheless, 75 degrees to us Central Floridians starts feeling a little bit of cold. We like to call it hoodie weather when it gets down around the high 60s, low 70s, 70, 65, something like that. But anyway, I got some dubious notes here I want to go over with you folks today in preparation for the great slate of college football games today. I hope everyone had a great week of work. I hope everybody's ready to relax. They got their favorite snacks, their favorite beverages, ready to turn on some fantastic college football today. I'll be posting some shorts throughout the day, especially if any upsets happen. And that's the thing we're going to talk about today. Do we have any upsets on the college football slate today? I don't think so in the key games, but maybe some of the lesser games, we might see an upset or two. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Clemson at Pitt is the first game that I have sitting here on my list. We got Clemson at minus 11.5. I think they get it done. Clemson still with hopes and dreams of making that ACC championship. Maybe prove everybody wrong down there in the ACC with Miami, now dropping a game. They still have SMU to worry about down there first year. Excuse me. Excuse me. First year SMU ACC team in SMU. They have them to look out for. I do think, though, that I do think Miami's going to end up making it there in that championship game. But we have Clemson at 11.5 today against Pitt. I think they get it done. I think they cover. I think Cade Klubnik has a great game. But Clemson is sitting there with 2 losses there. Let's hope they don't lose to Pitt today. I think if they lose to Pitt today, I think that the talk of Dabo Swinney and his non-interest of going to the transfer portal and things like that will start to heat up. I think even as much good as Dabo Swinney has done for the Clemson program and making that program a national brand and bringing it back to relevancy, I think you'd hear some rumblings if we still see a steady decline in the last 4 years there in Clemson. Texas and Arkansas, an old rivalry game that has been renewed now that Texas is in the SEC. They have Texas minus 13. I think it's more than that. I think Texas absolutely blows Arkansas out of the water. I don't think there's much more to talk about that. I think they continue their march, trying to get to that SEC championship game, which is an absolute cluster at the top there in the SEC. And we'll get into some of that toward the end of the video today. So we got Texas and Arkansas at minus 13. I think Texas gets it done, no problem. Now, if any of you folks watched my video last week, I said that last week was the week that Colorado would lose. I'm always betting against Colorado. I do not like to pay to build a team plan that Deion Sanders has up there. It has nothing to do with Deion Sanders, more to do with the hype that surrounds Colorado, as if there's some type of blue blood in college football and Colorado's being shoved down our throats every week by ESPN. And I don't like it. So I'm always rooting against Colorado to fail. Maybe that's unfair. And will they do it today against Utah? We have Utah going into Colorado, and we got Colorado minus 13.5. I think Colorado wins the game. I don't think they cover. I think Utah makes this game a lot closer. I don't think Colorado has maybe one other time seen a defense so far this year as good as Utah's is, and that was against Nebraska. They did lose that game, but I'm looking for a tight game in that Utah-Colorado game. As a matter of fact, if I had to pick a game today out of the top 25 that could potentially be on upset watch, I would say that Utah-Colorado game would be the one that I'd be looking at the most. I did not bet on that game. Don't want to touch that at all. But like I say, we got Utah, Colorado 13.5. I won't touch that game. Can Utah get it done today in Colorado? We'll see. We'll find out. Next up, we have SMU, one-loss SMU, whose only loss was against, I think, BYU, I think, was their only loss. First or second game of the year. I have to go back and check on that, but I do believe it was like a field goal or a one-score game that they lost that game by. SMU, red hot. Rhett Lashley got those Mustangs ready to rock and roll down there in Texas. They are red hot. They have a favorable schedule the rest of the way. I think they made the ACC championship game in their first year in the ACC. We have SMU at Boston College with SMU minus 18. That seems a little high to me. Boston College does have a pretty decent defense. And maybe the nerves of continuing to win out for SMU maybe gets the best of them. And I think SMU wins that game. I don't think they cover the 18, though. So I'm taking SMU in that game there. Next up, we have a battle of SEC. Used to be Titans in LSU and Florida. Not so much anymore. As good as LSU's offense is, man, they just can't win games. And when they play equal or superior talent to them, they seem to lose. And I don't know why Brian Kelly cannot defend a running quarterback. It seems like every time they play a running quarterback, whether it be what's that guy's name for Texas A&M? Was it Reese? I think his name was, or Reed is his name. The Texas A&M quarterback there that came in at halftime of the LSU Texas A&M game. That just completely ran all over LSU's defense there. And then we go back to last week, even with Alabama going into Death Valley at night, where LSU holds such a fantastic record in night games over there in Death Valley, they had no answer whatsoever for Jalen Mildew running all over on that defense. Brian Kelly, if you're going to get it together and you think you're going to ever play for anything in the SEC, you better figure out a defense in this conference. It didn't work for you up in Notre Dame. You never could win the big one there, and you're not going to win the big one here until you can put a stout enough defense and a stout enough defensive line together to compete with these running quarterbacks that we have down here in the SEC. You would think third year in, he'd have that figured out by now, but no. And I'm telling you right now, Brian Kelly, 9-10 wins a year may have worked up in Notre Dame, but it ain't going to work down at LSU. You got about one more year to figure it out, or those Cajuns down there will boost you up out of there. Ask Ed Orgeron. That guy won a national championship 2 seasons later. He's gone. So, Brian Kelly, if you think you're above that, you better watch yourself. Figure out a defense. Start winning some football games. Make that purple and gold, purple and yellow proud up there in Baton Rouge. But LSU in Florida, they got LSU at -3 on the road in Gainesville. You know, I think they cover. I think they win this game. Florida has no quarterback whatsoever. And I think LSU just absolutely routs Florida down there in Ben Hill Griffin. I don't know where they're coming with this -3 there. LSU, that's a best bet for me at -3 down at Florida. Oregon and Wisconsin. Can Oregon stay undefeated? On the road at Wisconsin, I do believe so. I think they just absolutely smashed Wisconsin. I don't even have the spread down there to talk about in this game. The game of the day, perhaps, is down in the SEC at Georgia versus Tennessee. This is on the road at Athens. The fans down there in Athens, Georgia, are starving for a night game. I saw some crazy stat that they haven't played a night ranked versus ranked opponent there in something like 366 days down there in Athens. But they get the draw. They get the primetime night game tonight down there in Athens. And as bad as Carson Beck has played lately, and even with that loss to Ole Miss last week, I think they just completely annihilate Tennessee. I think they cover at 8.5. I think they get a few interceptions today against Tennessee. Unlike LSU, Georgia does know how to defend a running quarterback who really isn't that accurate of a thrower. I don't see where Tennessee's going to get their offense from in this game. I think Georgia stacks the box, try to make Tennessee's quarterback beat them in the air, and I just don't think that he can. I think Georgia stacks the box to stifle their running back over there in Sampson, and I think Georgia just gets it done. You know, I'm saying that if Carson Beck and Georgia cannot turn the ball over, and I don't believe they will. I don't believe Kirby Smart will put Carson Beck in a position to turn that ball over. I think there'll be a lot of run game, a lot of dink and dunk passes, which is what we've seen from Georgia of late. It's kind of a boring offense that we're seeing. You could really tell that Carson Beck really misses Lab McConkey and Brock Bowers down there in Athens. And I don't think that Georgia is a playoff contending team. I don't think they're a national championship contending team whatsoever. I think, on neutral site, can they match up with anybody in the country on most weeks? Absolutely. But right now, I have Ole Miss as a better program than Georgia, and that doesn't even mean, well, and I'm not even taking into consideration that Ole Miss did beat Georgia. That doesn't even go into my psyche when I'm talking about that. I just think that all around, talent-wise and skill position player-wise, I think Ole Miss this year, it's not a better program, but a better team than the Georgia Bulldogs. I think, you Georgia fans, you've been riding high for a long time. It's time to come back down to earth a little bit. Yeah, I think that Georgia gets it done today against Tennessee. And then we're going to round out the games that we're going to talk about today. Mizzou and South Carolina. Mizzou's going into Columbia, South Carolina, over there at Williams-Brice as an underdog. South Carolina's favored in that game, -12 in that game. I think South Carolina wins that game. I think they win it. I think they cover. I think Mizzou's a pretender. Auburn should have beat Mizzou a couple of weeks ago if they could ever hit a field goal or whatever. But yeah, I think South Carolina wins that game there. So not a lot as far as the spreads go, and as far as we think about upsets. The Utah-Colorado game, does LSU find a way to get upset against Florida, or are they down and out from the week they had last week, just losing to Alabama the way they did? I don't think so. I think LSU can line up, just run the ball and beat Florida straight up. Georgia, Tennessee. If Tennessee beat Georgia, is that really an upset of the way Georgia's playing this year? I don't think so. And I don't think Wisconsin has a chance in heck to beat the Oregon Ducks today. What is the SEC going to do? You've got Alabama with 2 losses. You've got Tennessee, I think, is going to have, if they don't have 2 losses, they will today. You have Georgia with 2 losses. You have Texas A&M with 2 losses. You got Texas with a loss. Who are the 2 one-loss teams? Are there 2 one? Yeah, Tennessee and Texas are one-loss teams right now. You have Texas A&M with 2 losses, but Texas and Texas A&M play each other. Without divisions this year, there's no East and West in the SEC. It's going to be wide open. It's going to be fun to see how the college football playoff bracket projects those SEC teams, and it's going to be fun to see who the tiebreaker scenarios and how they go in the SEC toward the end of the season and who does what. That's all I got to say about those teams. I like to, talk about my Auburn Tigers a little bit today. They're playing Louisiana Monroe today. I do think they get the job done. They're a 24.5-point favorite against Louisiana Monroe. I don't think they'll cover that, but I do think they'll win. It's been a really sad season for us Auburn fans. We just can't really put our finger on the pulse of what's going on down there. From week to week, it's different every week. We can't hit field goals. We can't score in the red zone. Bad play calling. Where's Jacquez Hunter? We play Jacquez Hunter against Kentucky. He touches the ball 20 times. We win the game. The very next week, the guy gets 6 touches. He can't win a game. And a close game against a team that you really should have beat in Vanderbilt with the defense held Daniel Pavia to basically nothing. I think it was like 120 passing yards and 21 rushing yards, and still could not find a way to beat Vanderbilt at home. It's just such a sad deal. Missed 2 field goals in that game. And the story goes on and on. Crazy note about our field goal kicker. He is less than 50%. Towns Magoo is less than 50% kicking field goals. How horrible is that? And now this is a kid that everybody wanted in the offseason as far as recruiting him as far in the SEC. And he just can't hit the broadside of a barn. Now, I know that our kicker from last year, I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, he's had some weird gastrointestinal infection all year long, and the poor kid's been suffering all year. He went from 180 pounds down to 90 pounds, and he just, my thoughts and prayers are with the kid. They can't figure out what's going on with him. But he just hasn't been able to get out there and kick this year. And we've had to stick with Towns Magoo. And that's why I think we see Hugh Freeze going for it so many times on 4th down. And with a guy that just does not have the it factor in Peyton Thorne, who crumbles at the point of any kind of pressure, whether it's mental pressure or pressure from a defense, you're just not going to win a game. And I, for one, cannot wait to see the Peyton Thorne era in Auburn end. There's a lot of talk about, the 5-star, 4-star, depending on where you look, quarterback Deuce Knight potentially flipping to Ole Miss. I don't think that happens. I think Deuce Knight ends up in the class. I think even though he does end up in the class for next year, I think Auburn still needs to go out and get a quarterback in the transfer portal, at least to compete with Hank Brown, Walker White, Deuce Knight for a starting role. And I think that Auburn will spend big money this offseason to get a top-tier quarterback in the transfer portal. We'll see that working out for Miami with Cam Ward and the likes of things like that. Anyway, I'm going to stop this video so I can get it edited and get it put out before the college football games kick off today. Hope you folks have enjoyed this content, and we'll see you throughout the day on some shorts and on these longer videos. I always like to say we'll see you on the next one.